The topic of man downs, which refers to intoxicated subjects either unresponsive, passed out, or beyond control of their bodily movements and bodily functions in some cases, is a pretty sensitive topic for a number of reasons.
When we've reached our max, that's it. But that's brutal on the staff emotionally, to have to say no and to hand out a blanket when it could be snowing badly.
The resources that it requires to attend one of these man-down incidents.
The city of Flagstaff, a getaway for thousands to escape the congested city. Majestic scenery, down-to-earth people. Who wouldn't want to live here? Flagstaff is undeniably a great place to live, but there is a growing issue that's rearing its ugly head.
We do accept men into the shelter who've been drinking or using that day. We do require that they are sober enough that they can behave decently in the shelter. If they're too intoxicated, too under the influence for our services, we can refer them to a detox program or to the hospital if they're really severely impaired.
Shelters like the seasonal Flagstaff Shelter Services work to give assistance to hundreds of northern Arizonans who need help.
Somewhere over 40% of our population are Native American.
A city so close to several tribal nations whom do not allow alcohol sees quite a bit of people coming in to enjoy the luxuries that they are denied.
Half, maybe even more than half, were drinking or using illegal drugs that day and came in to some degree under the influence.
A small group of journalists and local news reporters have been working diligently over the past few years gathering data on the issue. Chad Black runs a local breaking news website and has been following the issue for quite a while and has found some interesting contradictions.
We started the study and it took a period of about 2 months. We really concentrated on a 2.5 day period. That was just a random 2.5 days in that the number. The numbers that we came up with were roughly 28 man-down calls in just a 2-day period. If you do the math there, that's astronomically higher than the 410 that Guardian Ambulance reported just the year before, which was kind of concerning. And when we looked at the total number of calls over that 2-month period, it was 328. 328 man-down calls as opposed to 410 the entire year the previous year. So right there we debunked the previous study. Flagstaff sends a fire engine staffed with 4 or 5 firefighters, as well as an ambulance which is staffed by 2 paramedics to every single man-down call there is. That makes 7 people for a person that in most cases is just severely intoxicated.
The Guidance Center, which opened its doors in 2007 and is a major source for rehabilitation services in northern Arizona, has seen nearly 1,000 people in its intake triage unit in the past year alone. Over half those admitted being of Native American descent, closely followed by Caucasians. While the number of Caucasians, African Americans, and other minorities have stayed fairly stagnant, the Native American population has seen a 5% increase since 2008. Flagstaff police reported in an article published by the Daily Sun that businesses should be seeing an improvement related to this issue. However, many businesses have reported that the problem is the same, if not worse.
The biggest issue for local business is security. It's important that as a business person or as an operator of a small business, especially in Flagstaff, that you keep your business secure. And if there's people blocking entranceways or potentially harming others, there's always the possibility of theft that could always arise as well. And being around high-tech equipment and stuff like that, theft is always a great concern, but especially just the safety portion of it, it's troublesome. A couple of years ago, it was quite early in the morning. I actually got here to work and was walking in through the office door whenever caught somebody sleeping in front of the door, and I couldn't step over them and not be concerned, so as I tried to wake the person up and they weren't responding, I had to call the police, which of course took time out of my day, and then it also caused a scene by having the police at the scene of the business, which may detract customers.
There's an even greater sting when you look at just how much we're shelling out in taxes.
99% of the men and women that are admitted for intoxication calls at the Flagstaff Medical Center never pay their medical bill. I think that's where the other, hush-hush factor comes in with this situation.
And unfortunately happens across the country. However, Flagstaff has a high occurrence of it, and I think it's because we don't have the proper programs in place to help these people that are going through this issue or the situation. Other cities that I've lived in, they offer, immediate AA classes, where of course you take the classes, and if you're caught with public intoxication, you have to instantly go through the classes and you have to graduate, and they keep you inside of a rehab center. Here they book you or whatever that might be, and the police take care of a few minor details, and then you're done, and you're back out on the streets again.
The Guidance Center shells out over $500,000 a year. The Exodus program, which is run through Coconino County Jail, spends an additional $200,000 a year to run the in-jail rehabilitation and treatment program. The city of Phoenix, who has over 10 times the population of Flagstaff, has the same number of man-downs per year. Their response is also much different. The amount of manpower required drastically drops.
I think we should mimic other cities who do this differently and not spend nearly as much money as we do.
In 1 year, the city is spending over $4 million related to this issue. Times have been hard for everyone and undoubtedly have contributed in more than one way to this issue.
What I think the public needs to understand is the chicken and the egg phenomenon among homeless. When you see a homeless, addicted man, you got to ask which came first. A number of the men have told me that they weren't using alcohol and drugs as deeply as they are now when they first became homeless. The experience of homelessness, the depression, the idle time, the culture increases substance abuse. It's so prevalent in the culture of homelessness that men who might not have been using when they became homeless fall into it within the system. And society doesn't have a lot of options. There isn't free substance abuse treatment, free 28-day in residential programs readily available. If we had that, the shelters wouldn't be as full, and the jails definitely wouldn't be as full.
It would be insane for us to expect the city to pay for that 1,000 people who were admitted to the Guidance Center this past year. As it is, the program, which receives little in the way of payment from the majority of those using its services, is projected to be at a loss of nearly $50,000 this year. As Northern Arizona's major source for substance rehabilitation and treatment, how much longer can it sustain itself? How long can shelters like Flagstaff Shelter Services stay open?
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this is an epidemic, that it's a problem. So let's tackle it. Let's get these people help. Let's not shun them. But obviously it's a problem.
Many public officials were contacted in the making of this documentary. Included are the Flagstaff Police Department, Flagstaff Sheriff's Department in conjunction with the jail, the Guidance Center, Flagstaff Fire Department, and Flagstaff Medical Center. They either flat out refused to return our calls, or upon hearing the nature of the project, declined to comment, stating they did not have the staffing. Our information and data has been obtained through extensive research and collaboration with members of the community who have been following this issue.
The hardest part is that we don't have enough resources for everyone. I didn't anticipate that when I came into this field. I didn't anticipate that some nights I'll feel like the guy standing on the deck of the Titanic with 10 life vests and 1,000 people grabbing for him. I didn't come into this business to say no to people in desperate need, and that's really hard.
There are many who are working hard on a daily basis to solve this issue or bring it to light. A major pitfall is that in order to help many of these people, setting aside racial and cultural differences, they have to want help. The bottom line is, this problem isn't getting better, it's getting worse.